Hey kids, Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another bike review. This time, I'm on what Yamaha describes as a sports scooter. Can a scooter be sporty? Well, stick around and stay tuned. I'll aim to find out. Okay folks, welcome back to the channel, and another bike review, as I say, and as you will have noted from the thumbnail probably, I'm today riding the 2025 Yamaha TMAX. Bit of a mouthful, not sure that name works that well here in the UK, and I guess that's quite apt, because here in the UK we don't really do scooters that much, do we? I don't know, I think it's partly to do with our weather, it being so grey and horrible here in Blighty most of the time. I'm recording this at the end of May and look, it's a pretty miserable day. And also maybe a cultural thing. Scooters have connotations of mods and rockers and things, don't they? And us motorcycle fans kind of look down our noses at scooter riders. Some of us do anyway. I don't. I love a scooter, me. So yeah, they're not bikes that we see a lot of here in the UK, but around Europe, this the TMAX over the years has actually sold over 330,000 units, so it's a massive seller, and it is Yamaha's flagship scooter. So in this sort of first ride review, I aim to find out what all the fuss is about. Before we get on to the ride and its sportiness, let me show you over the bike and some of its features. Alright, so here she is then. What do you think of it? I think it's interesting. I'll grab the camera and we'll sort of do a bit of a walk around, and I'll show you some of the sort of different features about this and point out some of the things that I think make scooters super practical, and also some of the features on this bike that I like and dislike. Let's start with the looks then, and in particular this front end, which has been a bit redesigned for the 2025 model year. What do you make of that? I think I quite like the overall looks, but the front end looks a little bit bulbous to me. It's got a bit of chinchilla or something about it, I think. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, overall, not a hideous looking machine. But, you know, it's scootery, isn't it? That's just the way they are. Anyway, let's have a little look around the bike at some of the things that I like. So it's got stuff like, it's got this little cubby hole here, which has got a USB connector in, so you can charge up your phone. They've even put in a little sliding sort of cartridge thing that you can fit your phone in, or what, you know, whatever else. I think that'll take any phone in there. It's pretty big. So that's one of the sort of practical things that you get with scooters that I like. Another thing, I quite like the looks of this exhaust. Well, actually, it's big, but I like the way they've covered it with this glossy cover here. That all looks good. Even the tail tidy has had some design. Well, it's not a tail tidy, is it? It's the normal hanger. But even that's had some sort of aero design about it, which I think is quite clever. Something I do love about scooters, and this is no exception, belt drive look, which means you've got no chain maintenance to worry about. And I just don't understand why more normal conventional motorcycles don't have belt drives. I hear they're not quite as efficient as chains, but you know, no maintenance appeals to me. I could do with losing a few horsepower if it means I don't have to look after a chain. So that's a nice thing. And of course, one of the other things that makes scooters so practical is these massive seats and the under seat storage you get. So on this one, you press the button here marked seat twice. There you go, get a bleep and then it unlocks. And bingo, you get this massive storage area, which you can get a full face helmet in. I've got some of my camera kit in there. You can see it's got a light as well, so it's lit if you're carrying your shopping at night or whatever. And yeah, just super practical. Lovely little Yamaha badge there, and that is the motorcycles one, not the music one. Those that watched my Bikers Ground with Jeff and Dan will know all about the logo. Go and check that video out if you're intrigued on that, if you like a bit of anorak detail. I think the lights at the front look quite nice. These are new for 2025. Haven't ridden it at night, so I can't say how well they work, but I imagine they work very, very well. Yeah, overall, there she goes. I mean, it's a scooter. Do any scooters look lovely? I don't know. It's not repulsive, but at the same time, I wouldn't say it was beautiful either. What do you make of it? Okay, folks, welcome back aboard the TMAX. I'm going to take it on my normal sort of test route, which is a little bit unfair because, of course, this is urban transport. So really, it's at home in town most and in traffic, and I don't live in a town. I'm recording this on a bank holiday Monday when there's not actually much traffic about, so I'm being a little bit unfair in some senses, but as I mentioned, Yamaha do badge this as their sporty scooter, and in fact it'll do well over 100 miles an hour. And I was a bit sceptical, I have to say. I thought sporty scooter, that's rubbish, but I'll tell you, once I jumped on this,
I can immediately see what they mean. It really does feel peppy. And I'll open it up a bit in a minute. I'm still in the 40-mile-an-hour limit, so I've got to be a little bit careful. But the first thing I noticed about this when I jumped on was just how sporty it feels. It really does feel sprightly, especially for, you know, a bike with fairly limited power. I think it's got something like 47 brake horsepower. We'll go through the specs in the usual way shortly. But it feels like a lot more than that. And it's got a great note to the engine. When you wind it on, well, you probably can't hear it through the microphone on this camera, but Yamaha have done that trick when they've tuned the airbox and they've tuned the exhaust to make it sound pleasing to the rider. They do that on some of their bikes like the MT-07 and MT-09, and it really has a nice note to this now as well. Alright, so let's go through the usual stuff then, shall we? Oh, just coming up to a little twisty section and national speed limit, so I can also see what she's like handling wise. Here we go. My god, it absolutely flies, this thing. It's brilliant. I have ridden a few scooters in my time, and although I've always lauded them for being super practical forms of urban transport, you know, they're comfy and you can carry stuff and they're good for wind protection stuff, they're not normally known for their fun ride. But I can tell you right off the bat, this is great fun. Your sports bike riding mates may look down their nose at you, but this thing handles, I tell you, and it goes. It's actually got quite a lot akin to a normal, in quotes, motorcycle to this, in that the chassis is a aluminium twin spar affair like you'd find on a motorcycle. The suspension is like you find on a motorcycle. Something that's not like you find on a motorcycle, of course, is the centrifugal clutch. So you don't have to change gear on this, it just goes. And Yamaha have made some changes to the clutch on this over previous scooters. And I have to say, it feels great. It's very, very peppy. I've got this in S mode at the moment. It's got a T and S mode. I assume S stands for sport. And yeah, it definitely feels sporty. It's fantastic. It feels very comfy as well. Massive padded seat on here. Riding position is feet forward, as you can see. Well, if you want, you can put your feet right forward. Or if you like, you can bring them back a bit and make it a little bit more conventional. I prefer them slightly back so it doesn't feel quite so cruiserish and a bit more bike-ish. But that's up to you. You can move around, so that's quite nice. So yeah, the riding position is great. This is a very bumpy road up here, as you can see by the state of the tarmac. It's just terrible. It's usually where I test suspension. And as I say, this has motorcycle-esque suspension. It is adjustable, actually. Oh, but I have to say, it feels a little bit crashy over the worst of those bumps. But generally speaking, it's not bad at all. I do like the fact that you can stretch your legs out, and actually, even though I'm not a fan of feet forward on this bike, it somehow feels kind of right. There's this little padded bit at the back of the seat that just gives you a little bit of support at the back of your back, and yeah, it feels good. When you accelerate, it just keeps you sat in the seat nicely. It really is a lot of fun. If you can get over the scooter stigma, you'd have a lot of laughs on this, and you could embarrass your mates, I tell you. It's really rather a good thing. It surprised me. I was expecting to not like this particularly, but I really do like it. Right, let's give her a little squirt down here. What I like about scooters is they carry their weight nice and low. So even though it's a fairly weighty bike at over 200 kilograms, it carries its weight nice and low. So it's easy to live with, moving around and stuff like that. Piece of cake. It's great down here. Yeah, the suspension does get a little bit out of shape when you press on down these country lanes. It's way better than you'd expect. It's putting a grin on my face. I'm loving it. Right, let's try these brakes. Nothing behind me. Front brake. Actually, you have to give them quite a squeeze. They work fine, but they're not as rapid at slowing you down as I'm used to on motorcycles. Normal motorcycles, I should say. Let's just try the rear. Well, the rear's pretty good, but the ABS kicks in quite quick. Yeah, I tell you, I mean, I've ridden some powerful bikes in my time, but if you're riding on the road, you don't need any more power than this. For fun, it's absolutely superb. It feels actually quite a small bike. I mean, it's not particularly small. I think wheelbase wise it's quite long, but it feels quite compact when you sat on here. I suppose the only thing I can say it reminds me of is riding like a small Goldwing, and that is praise in itself. I mean, I've been a Goldwing owner. Oh, here comes some other bikes. Let's give them a wave and see if they reciprocate. Hi. No, didn't bother. Hello. No, not waving because I'm on a scooter. Hello. No, not a single wave. Look at that. That's the scooter effect. What is it with bikers? If that was you riding past, why didn't you wave to me? Very strange. Anyway, there we go. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, it feels a bit like a mini Goldwing, and I've owned a Goldwing for the last 5 or 6 years. It's a fantastic bike for touring, and this would be just the same. What a fabulous thing! I don't want to be too gushing, but I have to say I'm really liking this, as you can tell. All right, as I enjoy it some more, let me whiz you through the numbers. Let's talk specs.
Right, to the specs then. I've written them down as ever, so hopefully I don't make any massive gaffes. All right, we'll whiz through them as quickly as we can because nobody wants lists of numbers. But starting off with the engine, nothing really to see here because it's all fairing in, of course, but the bike has a 562cc parallel twin cylinder engine. It's Euro 5 Plus compliant, and it puts out 47 brake horsepower with 55 Newton meters of torque. Brakes on the front, very motorcycle-esque, as you can see. These are dual 267mm discs, and it's got a couple of 4-pot calipers on there. On the rear, it's got this 282mm single rear disc, and on there you can see it's got a single pot caliper for the main sort of rear brake, and then we can see the parking brake as well on there, which is a little Nissin caliper. Suspension on the front, if we have a look up there, those are 41mm adjustable upside down forks, although to be honest, I don't know how you go about adjusting them. And on the rear, tucked under there somewhere, let's sort of stick the camera under there, you can see we've got a monoshock system for the rear suspension, very similar to what you'd find on a motorcycle, albeit mounted lower. Seat height on the bike is 800mm, which doesn't sound very tall, and indeed it isn't, but it is quite a wide old seat, as you can see. So it wouldn't be that great for really short riders. Curb weight of the bike is 221 kilograms, which sounds a lot, but it carries its weight low, so it's not an issue at all. Tank capacity on the bike, and I've no idea where the fuel tank is, but that's where you put the fuel, is 15 litres, and I imagine it'll be pretty frugal, this bike. Electronics wise, this bike has got everything you need electronics wise, but nothing you don't need, if you see what I mean. So let me just read you some of the highlights. Check out the website for full details, but basically it's got this electrically adjustable screen, heated grips, heated seats, that's 7-inch TFT, connectivity for your phone for navigation via a Garmin app, which is free these days apparently, and your music, etc. It's got cruise control, traction control, riding modes, LED dual eye headlights, as we saw earlier, keyless operation, tyre pressure monitoring, and much more. As I say, check out the website for full details. Other things to note is that it comes in light grey or a very dark sort of purple colour. I'll see if I can find a picture and put it on the screen. I think I actually prefer the purple colour. There are loads of accessories you can get for this in the form of packs. They include things like Urban Pack, an Essentials Pack, an Urban Keyless Pack. Again, check out the Yamaha website for full details of all that stuff. And then last but by no means least, and this is probably the elephant in the room, is price. This comes in at a hefty £14,403 on the road, this bike. So it's a lot of money for a scooter, isn't it? You've got to really want one to shell out that sort of price. But, well, you've got to consider what you're getting, I suppose. Don't think of it as a motorcycle, think of it as urban transport, think of it as practical, and think of it as super comfortable and laden with technology. And then suddenly I think it becomes more value for money, but £14,403 is going to make some people balk, I think.
All right, welcome back to this urban funster that is the TMAX. So yeah, the elephant in the room then, I guess, is that price, over 14 grand for this bike, but then it is their flagship scooter. You can get some nice conventional motorcycles for that sort of money for sure. And of course, this is a different, depends what you want your bike for, this is a different market. If you want urban transport, then I would suggest you couldn't beat this, because not only would it be great in the urban environment, but also if you did want to go touring, 2-up, you could do that and you could have a lot of fun on it as well. If you wanted to commute to work on a motorcycle, then this would be perfect with its brilliant wind protection on here. This screen, by the way, electronic, and it works really nicely. We haven't talked about the dash setup actually. It's got this big TFT. Switch gear is all very easy to understand. I haven't read a manual for this bike, but I've managed to work out what everything does. It's got this little joystick here that is actually quite easy to use, which makes a change. Sometimes joysticks aren't easy to use on bikes, are they? But that flips you through the various settings at the bottom of the screen here. I don't know if you see, but if I move through, look, I can get into the screen adjustment like that. So then I can move the screen up and down, move it all the way up, And although it's annoying because you're looking through the screen, if it was if you're on a motorway or whatever, then you're in a complete bubble of calm, as I say. Similarly, you can move it all the way down again. Let's go back to screen adjust. There we go, move it down. And in the same way, you've got your heated grips adjustment there. You've got heated seats for rider and pillion there. So it's all very easy to use, that TFT. I like that. I'm glad to say they've not gone the way on the TMAX that they have on the MT-09, MT-07, and given it that funny indicator button. This has got the old style conventional indicator button. If you're wondering what this lever is here, by the way, that's a parking brake, which you get on scooters, because of course when you park it you can't leave it in gear, so you give that a yank on, it stops it rolling back. Very, very easy to ride. The seat height on here, I say 800mm, which is quite low, but because the seat's wide, my feet aren't quite flat on the deck. Look, I'm 5'8" and I'm on the sort of balls of my feet, so it is quite high as scooters go, or a bit of a stretch as scooters go, I should say. But as I mentioned, the weight of the bike is carried very low, so you don't feel at any point ponderous when you come to a stop. It's a very easy bike to ride. This new centrifugal clutch arrangement just makes it a piece of cake. Literally twist and go. I like the fact the mirrors are set way out there on the fairing. They're more like car mirrors, and it means you're not looking at your elbows all the time. Obviously you can see them a bit, but you've got a great view behind on those, and they're nice and clear as well. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, this thing. Alright, so we've already ascertained really that the TMAX is an easy bike to live with in terms of moving it around, because the weight's nice and low, as we said. But what's the turning circle like? So let's do my little usual test here in Great Missington train station. I'll park it in the middle of this here parking spot and see what the turning circle's like. Alrighty, turn her off. Had to think about that then. Bingo, there she is, the TMAX TechMax in the light grey colour. Right, let's move around then. So we've got grab handles we can get out of, and a big seat as well, so no problem there. And around we go. So easy to lift off the side stand, of course. Right, full lock. Let's see what she does. Does feel like quite a big old long beast as you do this. There we go, and into there. Bingo. So that was starting in the middle of that one, into the middle of that one. So that puts it firmly in the medium category. So it's not got a really tight turning circle, but it's not very big either. Lots of bikes fit into that sort of category. I've done this test umpteen times. That one is medium in terms of its turning circle. But for something that's physically quite long, it's actually pretty easy to move around. So you'll have no problems shifting that about your garage. Alright, now I mentioned I was being a bit unfair on the TMAX by not riding it in the urban environment, which is obviously where it's invented for. But I thought I'd come to the station car park here and just see what it's like riding it really, really slowly. Because obviously if you are in the urban environment, then you're going to be riding this quite a lot in traffic. And here we are, look, I'm at an indicated no miles an hour. This is less the walking speed. And the balance on the bike really is pretty good. So you can crawl along at a slow walking speed without putting your feet down, no problem at all. Normal sort of I don't know, slow traffic speed, if we try and hold it at 5 miles an hour, say. There we go, there's 5 miles an hour. Yeah, pretty nice balance, no problem at all. You can feel that new centrifugal clutch doing its thing, and you don't miss the fact that you can't be feathering a clutch because it's doing its own slippage. Yeah, so dead easy for slow speed control. Nice one. So this is literally my first ride on the bike, and obviously you need to live with the machine to really get to know it. But what are my thoughts, sort of summing up the pros and cons on the bike just based on this first ride? Well, let's do the cons. What don't I like about it? Well, there really isn't anything I don't like about it other than that price, which seems salty. But if you were to have a touring motorcycle with the same sort of kit that this has got on it, you know, heated grips, heated seats as standard, all the connectivity, the big TFT, the comfort that this has got, and you were paying that sort of money, you'd think it was a bargain. So you've got to take it in the context that it is, and this is their flagship bike, so Yes, if you're a, in quotes, traditional motorcyclist like myself, it might sound expensive at 14 odd grand. But you know, consider what you're getting for that, I would say. Other than that, there is that cultural thing we have here in the UK. I don't know why it is, but you know, as we saw by those motorcyclists that went by out for a ride on their adventure bikes, the sort of guys that, you know, I relate to. I'm one of those. None of them waved at me, and I waved at everyone quite vigorously. What's that all about? Come on, guys, we're all on two wheels. Let's be pals. So there's that. I mean, this would make a great bike if it was your only bike, but you've got to put up with the inevitable Mickey take that you might get from your friends. But I think you know, just remind them that bikers that know what they're talking about, people like MCN's road tester Michael Neves. I'm a huge fan of Nevesy. He swears by scooters. In fact, I think he's got one of these, and I can absolutely see why. It's one of those bikes, you know, if you know, you know. I think you can have quite a smugness about yourself if you've got one of these, because it just does what it should do, you know, does what it says in the tin, as they say. So anyway, so that was my cons. I can't think of anything else I don't like about it, just based on this one ride. Pros, well, everything. It's got the right sort of electronics that I like. It hasn't got lots of stuff that you don't necessarily need, like slide control and all that. Of course, you wouldn't have that on a bike like this, but it does have things that are useful, like the electronic windscreen, heated seats, heated grips. All that is excellent. I love what they've done with the engine. I mean, it's a relatively small twin-cylinder unit, and it'll be pretty frugal. But it sounds great, and when you wind it on, it's really perky. Yamaha say this will do, I think they say it'll do 120 miles an hour. No, I haven't tested that, but certainly on a motorway it keeps up with traffic, no problem at all. So the engine's great. The comfort on it is superb. Only bettered by, you know, big full-dress tourers like the Goldwing, but it's, you know, it's quite close. Yeah, there's a lot to love about the TMAX. So very interested to hear your views on the bike. Would you have one? Well, do you think I'm right about the stigma thing? If you've got one, how have you got on with it? Is there anything you think I've missed? Stick it all in the comments below. Would love to read that. But that is it for this first ride review on the 2025 TMAX TechMax. Big thumbs up to Yamaha for this one. Like it a lot. Right, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. and Fly. Cheerio. I'll tell you what, this TMAX TechMax is a bit of a secret weapon. I can 100% see why Nevesy raves about them. What a fabulous thing. Don't poo-poo scooters till you've had a go on one of these. Just don't get stuck behind in the sun. Clear? Yeah. See you down there, sunshine.